All right, everybody, it is Friday. You see Kyle Sullivan on the screen, and big game. I mean, it's a big game because you're going up against some familiar faces with the Kraken. Is there some little extra incentive for one person in particular, you think?
Hey, Taylor Swift made a career out of talking about exes.
Oh, very nicely played. We are never, ever getting back together. Welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast, everybody. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, Chris Maselli. And it is Friday, and Shaggy Von Doom is here alongside me today, as he always is. And thank you for making this your first listen of the day. On today's episode, we will be discussing the Avalanche, then their first trek into Seattle to go up against the Kraken. And I think what the Avalanche are, what we're going to talk about is probably what every other team in the league is talking about the first time they go up against the Kraken. Seeing your old teammates there. And for the Avs, there's two of them. So we will discuss that. We're going to talk about Bo Byram. If you subscribe to The Athletic and read the Peter Baugh article about him, it's good, but it's scary. So we'll discuss that. And with the Pittsburgh Penguins being sold, it's final, right? I mean, yeah. We'll be talking value and team value and what is the Avalanche team value. And if you've never looked this up, if you want to go do it right now, feel free. If you want to be maybe surprised on what the Avalanche team value is, stick around for that. So we'll discuss all of that and wherever else it leads us. But first things first, follow the show on social media outlets. LOPN_ Avalanche on Twitter, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram. Questions, comments, concerns, opinions, go to lockedonavalanche@gmail.com and follow the show's YouTube channel over on YouTube. So you weren't with me last week because I was out west last week. But you are back in action. And any updates you have of what's going on with the Lamplighters or any of that fun stuff that you have in your hockey world?
Yeah, still doing episodes with the Lamplighters in our Friday night stream. If you're listening to this episode, you can catch us on Twitch tonight on Twitch. Here in Puckburg's on pause because I don't know if you guys follow me on socials. I'm moving from Alabama to Pennsylvania, so
all right.
Everything is in flux.
The great Avalanche fan base of Alabama is being moved to the great Avalanche fan base of Pennsylvania. So, but yeah, you got a lot going on. So it's always appreciated when you come on. All right. Yeah. Avalanche playing well right now. Yeah. Then this 3-game win streak, 2 of them are against Vancouver, who is struggling. But you did play a good game against San Jose, who, I don't know, maybe they're overachieving, but they're playing well overall. So you won that one, but you have to feel good about the Avalanche. And now you're going into another team who is struggling in the Seattle Kraken. And not only do you want to go in and obviously win the game against a team, and it's very rare that you say this, that you should win this game. You know what I mean? There's always the bottom of the barrel teams in the league, and they can always win. But when you are a team of the Avalanche caliber, and there's those teams that you should be beating. Mm-hmm. And I kind of feel like this is like a no excuse. You have to win this game in regulation for the Avs. Do you feel pretty confident in how they're playing, despite the opponents maybe not being the upper echelon of the league at the moment?
Well, if you think about it in the context of the past 5 or 6 years when it comes to the Avalanche, that's usually where things get tricky, is the teams that we are supposed to beat. The Kings have always been a hiccup. The Ducks have always been a hiccup. And I think it was what they were saying on Altitude. It was like 607 days since we last played in Vancouver.
In Canada, yeah.
And for those who forgot what that series was like, those Vancouver games were brutal. I believe that was the Matt Calvert bleeding on the ice and then still playing around him Well,
That's right. Yeah, I think that was Vancouver. You're right.
yeah, because they were wearing their throwback sweaters that night.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Avalanche always have problems with teams we're supposed to beat, and if we're looking this good against teams we're supposed to beat, that's a good sign going forward. Yes, we should be able to beat Seattle, but we'll have to see. I mean, if you have been watching Seattle lately, this team is frustrated with where they are. They don't want to be playing this way. They're not happy with their head coach. They're not in
Oh,
Grubauer.
really? I haven't heard about that.
Uh,
I mean, are they? I mean, they're not looking to fire the guy obviously already, or just starting a new
it's
franchise out. But what are they not happy about? Just like the style of play, or what's going on?
I mean, it's Hacksaw. I mean,
Yeah, it was a head scratcher of a hire to begin with. So,
and it's not like these are brand new players to the Kraken who came up and like everybody knows who Hackstall is. Like
yeah,
these are probably players that have experience with him. And it's just with the frustrations of how the team is, like 4-11 is not pretty. And
yeah,
with this and with Hackstall barking in your ear, there's a lot of frustration. So, I mean, you see how Vancouver was playing us physical. Seattle will do the exact same to us. So if we can get out of this quote unquote easy game healthy, with a win, that's 2 wins in my book.
right. So, and what we've always said about Seattle from when they announced they picked their roster is like they look, their defense looks pretty solid. Where's the scoring going to come from? And
Yeah.
just going through their schedule so far, here's how many goals they've scored in their losses, and I'll just list them. This is just in their losses: 3, 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 4. And that was a loss to Arizona where they gave up 5, 2, 4 against Anaheim, and they gave up 7, 2 and 2. So they're not like that was the problem. That's where we thought the problem would be with the Kraken. And look at the guy that they took from the Avalanche in Joonas Donskoi, who performed very well. You have to look at it now. He does not have a goal on the season. He has 6 points, obviously all assists. Are you looking at him now thinking like, was he a product of this solid Avalanche team and benefited from that? I mean, it's too early to say that, but he's not off to a good start. And I think, it was almost like a slam dunk that they were going to take Donskoi. There was really no other player once they traded Graves that you heard being thrown around saying like, well, maybe they'll take Comfer. Comfer's looking like the guy you should have taken at this point.
Yeah.
So, but is this the game where Donskoi, picks it up because he's like, hey, I'm going against my old mates. It wasn't up to him to leave. I get that. But does this get him going? I don't know. We'll talk about Grubauer in a second, but what do you think of Donskoi so far?
It's one of those that you look at Donskoi, he's almost reverting back to what he looked like when he was in San Jose.
Yeah.
Same amount of talent out in San Jose that they have in Seattle, and same amount of production. He really didn't have a say in the matter, and they didn't pronounce his name right when they did announce him. But
and I will give him one of the best Halloween costumes.
Yes.
By the way, and if you didn't see it, he was a Starbucks cup. And you know how the Starbucks baristas write the name on it, and his name was how Sean Kemp pronounced it. Genius. Very well done.
And he's owning up to it and it was fun. And now he's getting out there, and that team's still trying to figure out how to play together. It's
and that's to be expected. And if you listen to Adam and I on the Locked On NHL when we do the power rankings, we were both saying they're way too high to start the year. They were at 20 or 21. And I'm like, that is a product of what Vegas did. They're benefiting off of what Vegas did. People are just assuming, they are going to hit the ice running or skating and be like Vegas. And no, you could tell that from the beginning, but you're starting to see it play out now. They are the antithesis of a expansion team right now.
Yep.
And they're okay with that. I think they wanted to play obviously a little bit better. And when you sign a goalie like Grubauer to a nice contract, I think you're expecting a little bit more, and he has not lived up to the billing either. So, that is going to be the Donskoi thing. They picked him in the draft. Nothing can do about that. Grubauer chose them. He chose them over the Colorado Avalanche. And I think that is, that's always going to rub, your old teammates the wrong way when the Avalanche wanted to keep him. And he's like, no, I'm fine. If you want to make the money, go make the money. But don't expect us to go light on you when we see you. And I think you are going to see a barrage of shots thrown at him because the Avalanche know how to beat Philipp Grubauer. And I think I know Seattle has a good enough defense, but I think you are going to see 40 plus shots on goal by the Avs and say, you should be on the other side of this right now, Gru, but you're not. And now you're going to pay for it.
And I've watched a couple Seattle games this year. And if the Avalanche come out 100 miles an hour like they have in the first two periods, it's going to exhaust that Seattle team. They cannot keep up. Excuse me. And they cannot keep up with that kind of speed. They're not built that way.
No.
And Grubauer doesn't have that trust with that defensive core in Seattle yet. And he's taking a lot of this on himself. So it's a weird situation. And I wonder if that plays into how the Avalanche play with taking their foot off the gas, if they start kind of feeling bad for their old friend.
I don't think so. I wouldn't. I know I wouldn't, if they do, and the Avalanche are known to do that.
Yeah.
And they just did it in Vancouver. You know what I mean? They came out flying. They got up 1-0. You could tell they lightened up a little bit. Vancouver did play better, but they did loosen up a little bit. I don't think if they do that, it's with like 5 minutes left in the game, and they're up 6-0. Like that's when they might let up a little bit.
I just don't see Seattle being that team that will take advantage of that and roar right back and put 2 or 3 back in, and it start to get hairy. I wonder how that dynamic will work. It'll be interesting to see, and they will talk about it all day long. But Grubauer and Donskoi are not happy about where they are right now, and I'm pretty sure they would love to come back to Colorado any chance they could get.
Yeah, I don't think Donskoi really wanted to go. Yeah. It's clear that Grubauer did, and you have to, you made that bed, and now you lie in it.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun. So. We know, even we're saying like we're expecting the Avalanche to win this game, and they're going to be doing it without Nathan MacKinnon, without JT Compher, and without Bo Byram. And we're going to talk about Byram specifically, maybe long-term issues for him. Not right now, but article in The Athletic didn't paint a rosy picture for him. So we will discuss that right after we talk about Built Bar. And Thanksgiving around the corner, my man. You got some nice Thanksgiving plans. You're still going to be in Alabama for Thanksgiving, but what's gonna?
Think I'll be hanging. I think I'll be hanging with my fam jam, the big super huge family that I have. I think we're all getting together.
All right, and desserts will be had.
Absolutely.
Why not have Built Bars for dessert? I know it sounds crazy. I mean, think about it. One slice of pie, and you are the Built Bar man. I mean, you've had these. One slice of pie is upwards of 300 calories on the low end. I mean, if you're having, the apple crumb Betty pie, you're talking a little bit more than that. And the sugar content is off the charts. Just pass a Built Bar around. Why not? They're delicious. They are healthy for you. They are covered in 100% chocolate. Replace the coconut cream pie with a coconut Built Bar. Why would you not do? I mean, if you're a coconut lover, they're absolutely delicious. They are great tasting. They are healthy. They have anywhere from 130 to 180 calories, only 4 grams of sugar, plenty of protein. And after Thanksgiving, they are having some surprise Built Bar Black Friday sales. So if you've never tried it, get in on them now so you get them delivered. You should get them delivered before Thanksgiving, and then stay tuned for what they have in store for Black Friday. But right now, you can go there at builtbar.com. Use the promo code LOCKED15 and you'll get 15% off of your order. Once again, that promo code is LOCKED15 for 15% off at builtbar.com. All right.
They look good in a horn of plenty. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. A cornucopia of plenty. All right. So Bo Byram, like I said, Peter Baugh from The Athletic, if you don't subscribe to it, wrote a very good article on Bo Byram and what he went through the past year plus with his injuries. And you just feel for the guy because it just seemed like he could never get back to 100%. And try as he might, he kept getting injured and would start coming back and start feeling good and then have a setback. And when you're dealing with concussions, that happens. This article went right up until a couple days after the most recent one, Bo Horvat hit him with the elbow. And he woke up the next day feeling good. And he was like, all right, good. Maybe I'm past this. But the day after that, he woke up feeling like crap. And that's how a concussion can get you. You just don't know when the symptoms are going to creep up or how bad it is. And once you've had one, everybody knows this, you are more susceptible to them. And with Bo Byram being as young as he is, and he's having all these concussion problems, Peter Baugh did a very good job of trying to paint like a not a rosy picture, but a picture of he's feeling better about himself and being able to recover from injuries. And I would say like that's a good thing if it's like, a knee or a joint or something like that. It's a whole nother ball game when it's concussions. And there was a point last year after the Vegas hit from Keegan Colasar where he just couldn't get over the hump of a concussion. And then when he did, he got laced with COVID. He was in the COVID protocol. And you read the article, and there's a point in the article where he calls his mother up and he was like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. That's scary. And he's 19, 20 years old, and he's already having those feelings. Now, by the end of the article, because of the season that he's had so far, he started out very well. Like he needed that to happen. If he didn't come out and have a good start to the season, we might be dealing with a different Bo Byram is the way that I am just interpreting this. But he kind of like he played very well, obviously, and he kind of like built up his confidence again because he was at a low. It's kind of a scary article when you're thinking long term for this guy because an injury like that lingers. What are your thoughts on this?
After hearing everything out of the Peter Baugh article concerning Byram, it puts it all in perspective, especially after losing Matt Calvert with the same issues and same problems, and it makes you think.
Because Matt Calvert had the pink visor.
Yes.
And then there was somebody else that came out this year with, it wasn't a pink one. Was it EJ? I thought somebody else came. It wasn't a pink one, but it was maybe like a smoked colored one. At the beginning of this season, I can't remember who it was now.
A member of the Avalanche?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I can't remember.
I'll have to go maybe see if I can find it, but they're not wearing it still, but anyway, go ahead.
No, it's one of those things you got to think about. And that's what Byram's going through right now. And you have to think like, this is where I would reach out to Calvert and be like, hey bud, this is what I'm looking at. Is this something I could push through? And like we were talking, Byram's still young. That brain is still developing. And this is not something you need to experience at this time of your life. I mean, Sidney Crosby had to take time off from the game for a while to address this. And granted, we've come a long way with our understanding of concussions and what happens with the brain since when Sidney Crosby was going through it, but it's a little concerning. And then you really have to evaluate, what are you doing here? Health over hockey, long-term plans. Like, is the next one going to be Yeah, and it's a lot to think about. And
Yeah.
Byram's got all the talent in the world, but he's also got all the life in the world ahead of him. So he's
And
got to think about both of those.
yeah, I think that's kind of why we think like, oh, he'll be okay because he's kind of has that superstar potential, and you think guys like that are just going to be fine.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? But he's doing all of the right, like he's learning how to kind of like come back from this stuff. He's employed, a therapist, and he's like, I have no problem saying, like, I think, seeing a therapist is the best thing that I've done. He's seen a concussion specialist who, helps him learn how to live with having concussion. Like, so he's employed the right thing. There's a really good part in the article where he goes on this kind of like retreat with his father into like deep into the wilderness that, he's unplugged for like 10 days. And he's like, that all like I'm taking care of my body as best as I can. So in that aspect, it's like, all right, 2 thumbs up there, but you can't, all of that stuff doesn't stop some 250-pound defender come barreling down on you into the boards.
Yeah.
And that's the scary part. So we all love Byram, and he's off to a rip-roaring start, and he's kind of ascended up the Calder rankings early in the season. But when you're thinking long-term for this guy, I am going to be watching this like, man, like it was almost like Wes Welker on the Broncos. You loved watching him play just because he played it with such heart. But every time he got hit, same thing with Troy Aikman, same thing with Steve Young. Once you get these things, you're just, like you said, is the next one going to be it? And you have to take health over hockey. And he's not there yet. I'm not saying like hang him up, Bo. I'm not doing that. But he's had this many concussions, this many problems early in his career. Maybe it's just a fluke thing. You know what I mean? Maybe because that elbow to the face was a fluke thing. Stuff like that you can't stop. But just reading it really kind of gave me pause.
Yeah, and that's what we talk about a lot over the Lamplighters, because we cover like the mental health side of things and the game of hockey. And with stories like Carey Price, Jonathan Drouin, Robin Leonard, there's a lot of things that can happen post-concussion that also affect mental health as well. And that's one of the things we talk about all the time is health over hockey. And that's pretty much where Byram's sitting right now. Like, is this something I can continue with and play through? Or is this where I need to evaluate where I'm going? And he's got all the talent in the world, and we're all rooting for him either way. But Byram's got big decisions to make at such a young age, and it's a rough thing to do.
It's scary. And I have to give the Avalanche credit too, because the timeline they gave for him coming back is basically up to him.
Yep.
They're basically said, like, when he tells us he's ready, then he'll go back out on the ice. So we're not getting the, we're testing him out today. So like, it's like, no, he's done this before. He's dealt with this before. He knows his body better than anybody. When he comes to us and says, I'm ready to go, then they'll go through their checkpoints and everything. So I think all around it's being handled well. I maybe am painting a bleak picture of it, but I also want to like really emphasize that everybody's handling it the right way. They're not rushing him back out there. They have the right people around him to really kind of monitor him. And he's monitoring himself well too. So let's just hope this is just early season freakish injuries, and he has a long, healthy career, all with the Colorado Avalanche. So
absolutely.
All right. And speaking of the Avalanche, which we tend to do on this show from time to time, the Pittsburgh Penguins sold. That doesn't mean anything for the Avalanche. It's not, we're going to have this fire sale of franchises now, but it does beg the question, what is the Avalanche value? And if you didn't look it up yet, right after we hear from Bet Online, we're going to talk about it, and maybe you'll be surprised. So get your guesses out for what you think the Colorado Avalanche is worth, and we will break that news it's not really breaking news, I guess, but we will discuss that news right after betonline.ag. And we are back and better than ever. A new web interface for the start of the basketball season. More prop bets, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the basketball and football and hockey and whatever sport you're into, their action for this season. Head to the new updated desktop and mobile website to sign up for today and receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use that promo code locked on to receive your bonus. From basketball, football, whenever baseball gets back in season, which is the springtime, obviously, the NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage on all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports. It's where the game starts at betonline.ag. All right. Pittsburgh Penguins sold to Kyle and I for $900 million. I put up half. He put up the other half. No, that did not happen.
I only did it for the Yager jerseys.
Well, you're moving to Pennsylvania, so I clearly,
True, I'm going to be in the office, so.
So they sold for $900 million.
Yes, to LeBron James's ownership team. He now owns the Boston Red Sox and
all right.
I think in Liverpool and the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Wow. I mean, I heard it was the Boston Red Sox group. I didn't know he was a part of that.
Yes,
that group, but whatever. All right. I mean, say what you want about LeBron, but he's a pretty good businessman. So they sold for $900 million, which is a little over their team value. The worth of the Pittsburgh Penguins is $845 million. So kind of in that little, $55 million over their value. That's okay. I remember when the Los Angeles Clippers sold. Remember they had that whole issue with their owner and all those racist comments he was making. They forced him to sell. I think they were worth around $800 million at the time. And then the guy who bought them, the wacky guy from Microsoft or Apple, maybe it was from Apple, bought them for $2 billion.
That's right.
So he way overpaid for them, but that's the going rate when you're buying a sports franchise. You overpay. This group overpaid by a little bit, not too crazy. So it got, Kyle and I thinking like, well, what's the value of the Colorado Avalanche? And the Avalanche are not for sale. There's no talk of that ever happening. But I told you a story about 5 years ago when the Powerball was up over $1 billion. I don't play Powerball, but when it's that high, you'd be stupid not to buy a ticket. You never know. And I remember putting up a tweet or a post or something saying, well, Kroenke's had a nice run because tomorrow I'll be owning the Colorado Avalanche, because at that time they were worth about $450 million. So out of my $1 billion, I'd be giving half away immediately so I could own my favorite hockey team. And that was, like 5 years ago. I had not looked it up since right now. I thought they'd probably go up in value a little bit in those last 5 years. And if you guessed $465 million, you would have nailed it on the head. They haven't increased that much since 5 years ago when I looked up the value of the Avalanche. Does that surprise you a little bit?
It did. That's a little low. Like, let's say if we're buying at the same rate that the Pittsburgh Penguins were bought, just say $500 million.
Right.
Let's just go $500 million. Like, that doesn't seem
not for a sports team. And I know hockey is not on the level of NFL and the NBA and stuff like that, but you would think any sports franchise would be up around where the Pittsburgh Penguins are. I was surprised to see Pittsburgh sold for $900 million. I thought it'd be a little bit more than that.
A whole $400 million difference more
between.
That's interesting. And it's alarming. What would be the worth of Arizona now? Because they're practically for sale all the time. Like,
that is true.
And that would be I guess Pittsburgh would be your high end of the market, and Arizona is probably, I guess, I don't know, stocking Kmart.
Pittsburgh is kind of in the middle of the pack, actually, when it comes to value. I think they said they were 19th. I'm trying to bring up the Forbes.
I think the Rangers are first with
they are.
like 1.1 bill.
1.65 billion. The Maple Leafs are right behind them at 1.5 billion. Montreal at 1.34 billion. The Blackhawks 1.085 billion. I wonder if that's going to.
I was about to say that's
like
they will be different.
Yeah,
most definitely.
The Bruins at 1 billion. So your first 5 teams are original 6 teams, and then number 6 is the Kings at 825, and then it goes then the Flyers. So where is? Let's see. So according to Forbes, so these are lower than. Let me see. I thought I saw Pittsburgh.
So you're telling me the Kings are more profitable, or they are worth more than the Colorado Avalanche?
Yes. Which makes kind of sense. I mean, that's like New York. New York, Chicago, LA, those cities are, they're going to sell.
Do the fans in LA even think that? Do they even know that? Like, they share what is now going to be the Crypto.com arena. It's not Staples anymore.
Horrible. That is horrible.
So, like, it's not even like the biggest ticket in town.
Let's see. According to Forbes, the value of Pittsburgh, they're number 11. This says 650 million. So I don't know. Maybe the first thing I was looking up was not accurate. If there's 650 million is sold for 900, but the Avs on here are still, where are they? So yeah, 465. So they are 22 in the league. They're 22nd in the league. And that is just location. You know what I mean? For hockey, even though Colorado is a sports state, a cold sports state, the value of that team is not high. And, winning helps, but you're never going to catch those teams like the Rangers. Like you're never going to be up there if you're the Avalanche. It's just the lay of the land right now. Could they get up near the 500 million range? Yeah, probably. You win a couple cups and your value goes up because people are buying your jerseys or buying your tickets. They want to go see the team play. So it goes up a little bit, but those top 5 teams are entrenched there. They are going nowhere.
And honestly, we're throwing out these numbers and like the 900 million is standing out, but these figures are not reflecting the new ESPN TNT deal and adding value.
Let me see. Yeah.
Because
this what I'm looking at is the Forbes list from last year, and this article was from December 9th of 2020, so almost a year ago.
Because Elliot Friedman was talking earlier today about this Penguin sale, with it being the first indicator on the profits and the projections of this new deal and what it's going to do for the league, that many other owners are also going to do some self-evaluation on their own teams. So could this be a domino effect or a trickle-down effect, or could this be the new thing that struggling teams like Arizona, Winnipeg, Florida, right. We've always it's always the hot topic in the offseason of who's going to move, who should move. Now with this inflated projections with this new deal and Pittsburgh being sold for 900 million, some teams and owners can make a profit and sell a team, and there could be some relocating coming up.
Especially with like Arizona.
Yeah.
So the Forbes one was from last year, so they haven't released a new one yet. But here is a report from, where is this? October. So this is more recent, and the Maple Leafs took over number 1. So it's still the same top 5, with, the teams, with the Rangers, the Leafs, Canadians, Blackhawks, and Bruins.
I
And
wonder if
oddly
that.
enough, the Red Wings are 10th. They're still a $1 billion team, but the Red Wings are 10th.
I wonder how long Toronto stays up there, because that ESPN TNT deal doesn't affect them at all. Like, they're still Rogers and Sportsnet.
I didn't even think about that. I'm trying to find the full list here for right now, but so maybe the Avalanche have gone up a little, but I don't think they're,
but it even no matter what you look at, it's alarming that, like, or shocking, and you wouldn't think that the Avalanche just aren't considered like that profitable, but like they have one of the best arenas in the league, even though it's kind of old. It's a beautiful place.
It is. I can attest to that. It's very nice.
Yep, you were just there. You were just at Ball Arena. A lot of visiting fans, they don't have a bad thing to say about the arena. Like,
I don't know.
And
all right, so here we go.
I
found the list. Man, okay. So this is a completely different. This has got to be because of the new deals. So from everything has gone up a lot from 2020 to 2021. The Avalanche, according to this, they're still number 20, but the value on here says $775 million.
Ooh,
yeah. And the Coyotes were 250 in the Forbes one in 2020, and now they are 410. So they pretty much doubled in value. But for now, the Avs to still be at 20, that's still low.
But I like that number. That number is something I can accept a little bit better than the other one. Like, the Avalanche feel like a 700 million, like, easy.
Right. And because here's Pittsburgh at 15 at 845, which when I initially Googled it, that's what showed up. So, they've gone up a lot in value, likely thanks to that TV deal, among other things. But, and without even before playing a game, Seattle kind of almost smack dab in the middle at $860 million value without playing a game. So, it's good. I mean, at least the Avs have gone up, which is nice. And they're not that far. I mean, let's see. Pittsburgh, what did we say, was 845 to the Avs 775.
That's not bad.
And you're five spots away, and they're at 15 and you're at 20. So, maybe you're never going to be $1 billion franchise. Maybe you'll touch the 800 million in that range. But it's just that's how it's laid out for the Avs. You're kind of behind the 8 ball when it comes to this. And that affects things like free agency. You know what I mean? Like, players like the big markets.
Yeah.
That's why they lost out on Panarin. They had a deal on the table for Panarin, and McKinnon was working his butt off to try to get him to come here, and he thought he had him. And Panarin just woke up one day. He's like, my gut is telling me New York. And most of the time, New York is going to win out. Most of the time, Chicago is going to win out. Most of the time, LA is going to win out.
And if you listen to players that end up like finishing their career like New York, for either the Islanders or the Rangers, they go there because they don't have to have a vehicle. They could just have like a nice little penthouse, and they could just have, like, either like be chauffeured to MSG or like take a subway. Like, they don't have to worry. It's just like they can wake up like 2 hours before game time and just like, there's no travel. You don't have to worry about all that stuff. And that's what the appeal of the big city. Like, who doesn't want to be in New York?
Yeah.
So I get that, especially.
But it's amazing to see how much they've shot up after 2020. And I'm looking up other articles, and they're all accurate. Like, all the ones that were coming from 2020 have the Avalanche at 465, and a year later they're at over 700. So,
but honestly, I view the Avalanche as like a hidden gem. Like, keep it that way. Keep it that way, because like, it's such a beautiful area, beautiful arena, beautiful, like the city, the town, the team, like
Right.
it's not that far off from like the Pittsburgh evaluation, like, and
Right.
I think we're significantly better in every way than the Pittsburgh Penguins right now. Like, it's definitely a destination you want to play. So,
and the ownership, what the Cronkies did and with their football teams rubbed some people the wrong way, but it seems like they stay out of the way when it comes to the Avalanche. You know what I mean? Like they let Joe Sakic like kind of run the show. You feel comfortable being an Avalanche fan. You feel comfortable about that. You don't feel like these St. Louis Rams fans did, that they're just going to pick up and hightail it out. You don't get that impression about the Avs. So, you like how the team is constructed. You like how the team is run. The value of the team is what it is. In the long run, that doesn't mean anything for you or I. But from a business standpoint, is that something that they're happy? Are they happy that they're 20th in the league in value? No. I mean, you want to be as high as possible. But if the Avs do everything right and can knock out some Stanley Cups here, you'll see them go up in that Pittsburgh range. I could see that definitely happening. Not having a pipe dream of thinking like, oh, they're going to compete with Toronto and be a $2 billion franchise. No, those fans are nuts. Toronto fans, you know what I mean? So you're not going to touch franchises like that. But could it improve? Definitely. And I think they're on the way of doing that. It's just they got to get past the second round for them to do that.
It's definitely something to keep your eye on in the off season.
Right.
Interesting things to come.
It is. I always like looking at that stuff and talking about the millions of dollars that I don't have. So, all right, that'll be it for today. I think we'll do a show tomorrow. Do you want to join for that? I mean,
sure. I'll hop on.
Typically don't do a weekend show, but there's a game. It's against the Kraken. I'm probably going to want to talk about it when it's over. So, all right, yeah, we'll set a date for tomorrow, and we'll have a weekend episode for everybody talking about the Avalanche. So that is going to be it for today. Everybody ran a little bit long today, but that's okay. And yeah, thanks for tuning in and making this your first listen of the day. Definitely head on over to Locked On NHL and make that your second listen of the day. Get caught up on all of the action around the league. Thanks to Kyle once again for jumping on. Always a pleasure, sir. And don't touch that room until like you're walking out the door. The last thing you do, everything is done. You just grab all those jerseys and like hightail it out of there. So, all right, everyone. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Talking some Avs and Kraken.
Yep.
Have a good one.